What is going on, crew? Thanks for your patience. I'm a minute late because I was getting the best snuggles from my almost 1-year-old daughter. So hope you will forgive me because it was totally worth it, if I'm being honest. But I'm super excited to chat with you guys about fear, managing fear and blood sugars and type 1 diabetes. It's a lot more common than we'd like to admit, right? And a lot of us either have dealt with it, are currently dealing with it, or odds are we'll eventually deal with it. There's a lot of different reasons for that. We're going to get into a few of those today based on a conversation I had with one of my clients recently. And we'll talk about this later as well. But if you are somebody who's looking for help managing your blood sugars, I want you right now just to comment the word coach, and we'll get to you, try and get you some resources or some conversations, something that'll help you out, and see if we can offer any guidance. That's what we specialize in: blood sugars, insulin, analytics, CGMs, the whole thing. All right, so coach, if you want some insight. Now, on today's live, we're going to be chatting specifically. Oh, we already got a coach. Awesome. We're going to be chatting specifically about the role that fear plays in our lives. And as somebody who has personally dealt with that, I want to kind of dive into a piece of my story, but also open it up for some conversations. We got a couch in the comments as well. I'm just going to assume that was a typo. But overall, I want to do a quick poll. Has anyone here, well, let's rephrase that. Who here has experienced fear in any capacity specifically related to your blood sugars? I want you to drop the word fear in the comments if you've ever experienced fear in any capacity. It could be a fear of insulin, could be a fear of going low, could be a fear because of a low, could be a fear of complications, fear of high blood sugars, which might cause complications, right? Just kind of think through a lot of the different reasons that we might experience fear. And I want you just to be open with us. And I'm going to lead this rampage. I can't think of the word, but lead the journey and tell you that I have been in places where I have been fearful, and it has not gone away completely, right? There's always going to be an ounce of fear present in a lot of the decisions that I make. And I think that my brain is telling me that there's a very real threat, because there is, right? And it wants me to be aware of that. So before we get into the specifics of how do you manage it, I want to just kind of break the ice with this understanding that fear is not inherently bad. It's not the worst thing ever. In fact, fear is our brain, this guy up here, keeping us walking, talking, and breathing. Well, to a certain extent, it's the brain trying to keep us alive, right? Fear is our brain saying, this is how bad things could get. Be scared so that you're more alert, right? And oftentimes, it's us being hyper-focused on the worst case scenario that's leading us into this fearful state, right? Very common. Now, the tricky part is when the fear is rooted in an actual experience. So for anybody who doesn't know, there have been a number of experiences in my life. One that stands out in particular, as I'm sure many of you have heard the story of Paris and the Paris incident, but a number of experiences where I came pretty close to death, directly related to my blood sugars. Now, because of those experiences, my brain can now say, hey, you actually almost died. There's a reason we should be fearful, right? And so now as a result, my brain ties some really strong connections to what I should be afraid of and what they could result in, right? What the could end result end up being, right? And so with those coulds, the what ifs that are in existence, my brain is hyper aware of those. And I have to constantly be telling myself, hey, it's going to be okay. You got this thing covered. You've calculated the blood sugars, right? But that fear is still present. And I want you to know it's not bad. You're not failing if you experience fear. You're not weak, right? We're not looking at fear as a bad thing, but rather as the reminder our brain is giving us to say, hey, you're seeing that, right? You see the blood sugars that are dropping fast. I want you to be fearful so you're aware of it. And so really it's a survival mechanism. Something similar could be said about anxiety and panic disorder. A lot of these things are rooted in this survival mechanism. So to kick things off, just starting off with this understanding that fear is not bad. Okay, we're going to reframe it. I know in the moment you get scared. And if you're anything like me, I get scared. And then afterwards, I'm like, come on, why was I scared of that? Come on, Matt, you're better than that, right? And I get mad at myself. I get down on the fact that I'm human and experience fear. So I don't know if that's something that you've experienced as well, but I wanted to just kind of lay out that foundation, this understanding that fear is not the enemy. Fear is actually keeping us alive. Now, the key is how do we coexist with fear? And how do we settle down the fear and say, hey, it's okay. I got this, right? I don't have to be fearful at XYZ blood sugar number. I don't have to be fearful about delivering X amount of units, right? Because I've got this thing covered. I've calculated. I counted my carbs. I'm doing the right thing. Like, I know what I'm doing. How do we get to that point, right? So I want to get to that point eventually. But I was going to ask if you guys can hear me, but it looks like you can because you're all commenting coach and fear. So good job staying alive. Do me a quick favor and just smash the like button real quick. I want to get a bunch of people notified about this because this topic, especially during National Diabetes Awareness Month, needs to be covered. There's not enough people talking about the mental health component of diabetes and how to manage that, right? So the more times that Facebook sees people liking it and loving it and all that, it's going to start notifying more people. So let's get them in. Now, while you guys are doing that, let's start chatting about what it is that we're afraid of, right? Let's remove some of the power that fear has by talking about it. So things that we are fearful of. I know that a few of you are brave and wrote the word fear in the comments. Now I want you to write, to whatever extent you're comfortable with, what are the things that you're fearful of? And you can just write high blood sugars, low blood sugars, complications, insulin. It can be whatever you want. Carbs, right? Exercise. It can be anything. But I want to know what it is that you guys think is a topic that's even just a little bit fearful, a little bit on edge, where you're like, am I safe? Or do I really want to do that or eat that or partake in that or participate in that? Because I get a little bit nervous, right? And we can even call it nerves instead of fear to make it more acceptable. What makes you nervous with type 1 diabetes? We've got Remy says insulin, low blood sugar. We got Shanique says fear. Shanique says coach. Neil says fear. Remy says fear. We got Remy says coach. I'm going back to the comments. Joe says coach. Awesome. Remy says bolusing. That's a good one. Yeah, certainly. And you guys keep dropping the comments in. I want us to be a place where we can share and start talking about this. The more we talk about it, the less impact it has oftentimes. You kind of remove the mystery behind the fear. So as we're talking about it, we've got some great examples here, right? We got insulin, low blood sugar, bolusing. Neil says, I get a little OCD about always being in range, and I hate when I see my level rise. I need to use patience, which I need to work on. That's a tough one. That's one of the common pitfalls that most people don't talk about. Everyone talks about getting better control, better in range. They don't talk about you getting better control and then not wanting to lose it. And now all of a sudden that's the focus, right? And like, oh man, I don't want to go out of range. I can understand that one on a personal level. Bev says lows. Awesome. Yeah. So very common, these fears, these things that make us nervous that we've seen in the comments already, right? Things that I've experienced as well. There was a time, believe it or not, when I was scared of insulin. You know, the thing that keeps me alive. I was like, oh, I don't know if I should take too much. I'm nervous. And I realized after years of experimentation, documenting, trial and error, and even a little bit of journaling here and there, trying to write out my thoughts, right, surrounding those scary experiences, I realized that the fear isn't necessarily this mysterious force that it just you feel physiologically, right? When you get like the tingles and you're like, oh, I'm so nervous right now. I don't know if you guys ever had that, but kind of like a panic attack. You can feel it in your body. It's very interesting. Your physical state changes. But I realized it's not this mysterious feeling that we get, but there is actually a source that we can attribute to the fear. And oftentimes the source that we can attribute to fear is the mystery, the uncertainty, the frustration, because we've tried everything, we did all the right things, and it's not working properly, right? And I want you to imagine a scenario with me. And I'm gonna purposely drag out some of these nerves with you. Now, in this scenario, we're gonna say we gave a unit of insulin for whatever your insulin to carb ratio is, right? That can be 5 carbs, 10, 15, 30. I've seen some people that take a unit for every 65 grams of carbs. Wild how different we all are, right? But whatever a unit is for you, you dose, you eat the snack or the meal, and an hour later, blood sugars are fine. 2 hours later, blood sugars are fine. Normal day, blood sugars are cooperating. Cool. I love it when blood sugars cooperate. Hour 3 rolls around, still fine. You kind of forget about it, you ignore it, and you go about your day. Hour 4 rolls around, and you feel a little funky. Not entirely sure what's going on, right? You check your CGM if you're wearing one of those. says it's still fine. That's odd, right? I feel kind of shaky. For me, my tongue gets kind of numb. My lips start to tingle. And I'm thinking to myself, something's not right, right? Like I don't feel like myself. I don't feel 100%. A little bit confused. Not really sure what's going on right now. I'm like, you know what? I have my glucometer. I'm just going to check it real quick, right? And put yourself in the situation, getting a little bit shaky, and you're like, something's not right. I'm going to check. You get your finger stick out. You know, CGM still says 110. You're like, we're good, right? You plug it in. You look at your number. Shakes get a lot worse because all of a sudden you see the number 40. Ooh, wait, that's not right. Test again real quick. Your shakes are getting worse. 35. Whoa, now we're getting serious, right? Now something's wrong. But now I'm not fearful just because of those numbers and where they could lead, but also because it's not what I expected. Now I don't know why it's going down. I took insulin like 4 hours ago. There's no chance that that's the reason I'm dropping right now, right? What else could be going? Did my insulin pump malfunction and give me extra insulin? Did I accidentally dose 2, 3, 4 times as much insulin as I was supposed to? Why are my blood sugars dropping right now? And it's that level of uncertainty. I don't know if you guys feel this, but right now, my body, I'm feeling a little bit of the physiological response, right? Imagining the 40, the 35. Why is this happening? I didn't take any insulin recently. There's no reason this should be happening. I can feel the nerves kind of creeping up a little bit. You guys feel that? And when we put ourselves in those situations, we realize it's not the fact that 35 itself is a fearful number as much as it is, well, it is, of course, but as much as the uncertainty behind it. You know, if I had taken insulin and forgotten to eat my food, I'd be like, oh, shoot, okay. Oh, you know what I got to do right now? Grab a juice box. Always within reach, right? And I'm going to go ahead and just chug this juice box. Let's get it back up. But if I'm at 35 and I don't know why, that's a different scenario. That's where I start to get real nervous. And I'm like, oh, I don't feel good. I don't feel good about this at all. How much further is it going to drop, right? We talk about this with my clients a lot. Where is the floor, right? If I'm dropping, I'm not nervous because I'm dropping. I'm nervous because I don't know how much further it's going to drop, right? It's the uncertainty behind the number that truly causes that fear for a lot of us. And this isn't the blanket statement that like, that's the reason you're scared. That's not what I'm saying here. I'm saying this is one of the reasons. But it's so common for us living with type 1 diabetes to have these moments of uncertainty, of mystery, frustration, fluctuations, as I call them. Looking at like the blood sugars are changing. I don't know why. So now I'm scared, right? So what we discovered over years of documenting, working with hundreds, probably maybe even thousands of people at this point with their blood sugars. And a lot of those people came in expressing this fear of the unknown, this fear of uncertainty, right, with their blood sugars, and being able to boil it down and recognize that it's not knowing that is causing a lot of the fear, right? And usually you can root it back to a certain scenario where you did have a low blood sugar, you didn't know where it came from, and it caught you off guard, and it was scary, right? You had a dangerous situation, because lows do present an actual threat, right? If you have an urgent, severe low blood sugar, you could end up in the hospital, right? That's a very real threat. So you're not scared of nothing. But these clients that came in recognizing that a lot of the fear was rooted in the uncertainty behind blood sugars. And over the years of running our programs and our coaching services, we recognized that it wasn't just me that felt more confident and more relaxed with the certainty behind the numbers. It was our clients as well. It was really interesting seeing these transformations, not only on the graphs, right? A1C started at a 13, now it's at a 5.2. That's awesome. Time in range started at a 23%. Now we're consistently hitting 93 and 95% week over week, month over month. Bravo. Like, that's amazing. I love hearing those stories. But then a month later, 2 months later, 6 months later, I get an email. Hey, Matt, it's been a while. Blood sugars are still great. Just wanted to share something with you. I noticed that I'm not scared anymore. And I think it's because my blood sugars are more predictable, more consistent. And it clicked. You know, we got the first email and I was like, okay, someone else that's like me, same story, right? But 2 emails come in, 3 emails, 4, 5, 6, 10, 15, 30 emails come through, all saying the same thing in a different way. Because I have my blood sugars consistent, predictable, because I know what they're going to do, I am not scared of the lows, of the highs, of the insulin, of the bolusing anymore. Because I can predict where they're going to go, I have full confidence in what's going to happen. And if it ever doesn't go where I want it to go, we can now have the tools that you taught us to react, to respond appropriately. And I'll tell you, those emails fill me with joy. It's one of the best things that I can experience. But what was interesting and what I want to share with you is that oftentimes the fear being rooted in the unknown means that we get to solve a good chunk of our fear in understanding our numbers. So if we can study our numbers, if we can assign meaning behind why it's dropping, or in many cases, what's more important is how much further will it drop, right? Where is the floor? Oh, there it is, right? If you have an arrow down at 69, but you know it's only going to hit 60, that's a lot less scary than an arrow down at 69 and going, I hope it doesn't hit 20, right? Because who knows? Who knows if you'll be able to save it in time? Who knows if you'll have to call an ambulance? The who knows portion is the scary part for many people. And again, I want to back up for a second and tell you this is not a blanket statement. This is not the root of all fear and it's going to fix you, right? There's a huge role that still needs to be covered, which is therapy. And that's still a very helpful thing, right? And go find a therapist, talk to them. This is some pretty serious stuff, right? That we deal with on a daily basis. It's this balance of life and death of how much insulin do I give? But if you're able to calculate exactly how much insulin to give, do you think it would be a little bit less scary? If you're able to watch your blood sugars drop like a rock, but no, full certainty, yeah, that's going to stop at 90, so I'm okay, right? Do you think that would make a difference in your mental health, in your peace of mind? If you had Chinese food, double arrows up, oops, I messed up, but based on XYZ calculations, I know it's going to hit 180, level out, and come right back down. How amazing would that be? Right? So we look at this fear, blood sugars, all these different components of diabetes that are uncertain at diagnosis day because they don't tell you everything, right? I had a great conversation with somebody who had a family member diagnosed a week ago. And in that conversation, let me know that they aren't getting the support that they need from the medical professionals that are supposed to be there to educate them. They're asking all these questions, and the answer simply was, it's going to be okay. Which it is, right? But they weren't giving them the answers. They were letting them stay in this mysterious zone of uncertainty. And that, my friends, is oftentimes what leads into fear, anxiety, panic attacks, because blood sugars don't always do what we want them to do, right? But if you can calculate where they're going to go and how to respond to that properly, you're able to remove a huge chunk of the power that fear has. Because fear is rooted in uncertainty, right? Think about fear. There's an acronym that I've heard before, false evidence appearing real, FEAR, false evidence appearing real. It's imagined in many cases, right? A lot of our fears are us imagining the future worst case scenario. So if you imagine the worst case scenario, but you can calculate and logically convince yourself that you know it's going to happen, that fear kind of dissipates. It starts to fade away. And the context of the situation as well allows us to see what the situation is in truth and not in that imagined reality. So as you're looking at different pieces of diabetes, whether you are someone who's fearful of the higher side, you know, the complications, the amputations, the damage being done to your organs, or maybe you're scared of the lows and you're more on that side, right? The seizures, the lack of consciousness, the potential death, killing of brain cells. These are both serious things. They are things that our brain is trying to drive our attention towards to avoid potential future harm, right? But as a result of that, we experience fear, nervousness, anxiety, panic attacks, and it can drive our quality of life down. And we are experiencing the negative emotions from a perceived future. That's not even a reality, right? In many cases, we're imagining the worst case scenario, but we're not even in that moment yet. But we put ourselves in that moment mentally and we experience the stress. We experience the cortisol release. It actually affects our physiology. If you stress out about something enough, you will see it in your blood sugars, won't you? So what I want you to understand today is that you don't have to let go of your fear, but you can remove a lot of the power that it has simply by understanding your diabetes on a deeper level. If you're able to calculate your insulin to carb ratio, insulin to protein, insulin to fat, if you're able to see where your blood sugars are going to go after the workout that you're going to put in, right? Or after the walk or the errands that you're running or doing chores around the house, if you can predict where they're going to go and it follows that prediction, your expectations come true, zero fear, right? Or like 1%. If I expect a low, not only am I less scared of it, but I can prepare for it. And those two things coupled, if you're prepared for the worst case scenario, forget about it. I don't feel scared. I don't feel like I'm in a bad spot because I'm ready. I am prepared, right? So message for you today, ultimately, is to look at your life, look at areas that you're fearful of, and instead of running away and retreating from fear, look deeper. Figure out what is the thing that you're truly afraid of. And if it's related to your blood sugars, is it related to an uncertainty behind the numbers? Oftentimes it is. I can tell you in most cases of our clients it was. And I want you to understand is that blood sugars don't have to be mysterious. There are rules behind why blood sugars do what they do. There are literal equations that tell us why and where blood sugars are going to go. But you got to put the work in to get there. It's not going to be a magic fix. And the reason for that is that each of us are different. Each of us have a different set of rules, different set of responses, different set of formulas. This is the same reason why we have a coaching program and not just a downloadable cheat sheet that gives you all the answers. It's because we're all different. Everything has to be customized, right? What works for me is just a little bit different than what's probably going to work for you. So if you want to get started in fixing the fear, you have to start putting in the effort, understanding the blood sugars first. And then you will slowly work your way towards more of a logic place where you can be confident in your blood sugar management. And I can guarantee that what follows that is going to be the better control alongside the peace of mind. So you don't have to restrict yourself, stop eating the fun foods, no more workouts, can't travel the world. You don't have to do that to accomplish the safe space of diabetes. You know, oftentimes we experience fear, so we avoid those things. That's what our brain tells us to do. It's natural, right? Oh man, I don't know how to carb count at a restaurant, so I'm just not going to go to the restaurant. But the further we remain, or further we restrict ourselves, the less quality of life we have, and the harder and harder it gets to face that fear. Eventually, you get backed into a corner. There's no more room to go anywhere, and you're stuck. I don't want that for you. So look at where you're experiencing fear in your life. Can it be dealt with? If so, what do I have to learn to deal with that fear? And what can I do today to start making progress in facing that fear? It will take bravery. It is not an easy task. It's uncomfortable as heck to start that journey. I guarantee you. But once you start building momentum, it gets easier. And if you have someone to guide you, it gets simpler. So easier plus simpler means you're probably going to accomplish that result, right? So you got to take the first step. You got to start either researching it yourself or reach out to somebody who knows what they're doing and ask for their guidance and just start taking baby steps, working your way towards the fear, right? And I want to add one last piece to this. I am not telling you to do stupid experiments. You know, if you're scared of taking more than 2 units of insulin, I'm not telling you to go take 10 and just see what happens. That is a terrible idea, right? But baby steps, do the research first, talk to somebody who knows what they're doing, talk to an expert, right, before you go and make some reckless decision to start experimenting like in an unsafe manner. But understand that there is a way out of this. There is a way that's going to allow you to work towards a place with less fear. And then beyond that, there's, of course, therapy, mental health professionals, self-help, journaling, spiritual, everything else. Like there's a lot of other things to this, but related to diabetes specifically, you have to be your own blood sugar boss, right? You got to start working your way towards the deeper understanding, which will allow you to remove the power of the fear. All right. So that's how we manage fear and blood sugars. We remove the power by understanding it, by being able to predict where it's going to go. If you have no idea how to predict where it's going to go, same thing I said in the beginning, just type the word coach. There are rules to how diabetes works. and there's formulas. And this group, this whole community right here, this is the only place where you can learn those formulas. It's brand new. It's a new method for diabetes management. And that's honestly what I would attribute a lot of my mental peace to, is being able to run things pretty darn close to autopilot, right? Being able to set myself more on a path towards freedom and normalcy. And if you want that type of understanding, like I said, you got to put in the work to get there. It's not just going to happen. It's not automatic. But if you're willing to put the work in, type the word coach. We'll see if we can get you some resources so that when you are putting the work in, it's the right work. You're not just spinning your wheels in the mud, right? So we'll try and get you on the right track if we can. Shoot us a message, or just like I said, comment the word coach, and either myself or one of our team members will reach out, get you some more info, and get you started on the right path. All right, so let's crush some fear. Let's stand up and fight back. Diabetes doesn't have to be the end. And I hope that this message of hope finds you well and inspires you to start taking control of your life and your blood sugars. All right. So if you want to reach out, I'd love to talk. Feel free to comment the word coach, and we'll reach out with some more info. Be sure to smash that like button. I'll catch you guys every single week in here, every Thursday at 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Love hanging out with you and seeing the comments, and I hope this one was helpful. All right. So have a great week. Go beat some fear up. Go attack it. And as always, keep up the fight. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.